In November, NYSE-listed energy company Fortis unveiled its new 5-year capital outlook. The company's chief executive, David Hutchins, spoke more about it and the work that his firm is doing with NYSE content creator Ashley Mastronardi at the 60th EEI Financial Conference in Florida. Let's take a look.
Fortis started actually as a small electric company in St. John's, Newfoundland, and grew through acquisitions. We created a holding company back in 1987 and grew through acquisitions in Atlantic Canada, the Caribbean, across Canada, all the way out into BC and Alberta, and then even acquired utilities down in the U.S. in New York, Central Hudson, in Arizona, UNS Energy and its subsidiaries, Tucson Electric Power, and then ITC, which was our last big acquisition back in 2016. That was kind of the end of our M&A story, and when we really shifted to organic growth. So we have companies that do transmission, distribution, generation, you name it. If you can think of a utility business model, one of our 9 utilities does it. So we have distribution only, vertically integrated utilities like in Arizona. So we have the full gamut of different business models from a utility perspective, but it's also the only thing we do. We only do one thing. We are now 100% regulated electric and natural gas utilities.
You just issued your 5-year outlook, including your highest ever capital plan. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. We just issued it last week. And it's obviously a record plan for us. It's $28.8 billion. Now, these are Canadian dollars, unless I say otherwise, just as a quick disclosure. And that's $2.8 billion higher than our prior 5-year capital plan. It's driven by a lot of different investments across that entire footprint of those utilities. Our 3 biggest utilities, which comprises 70% of our overall capital spend, are ITC, a big transmission company that serves about 8 states across the Midwest. We have UNS Energy that has an electric utility, Tucson Electric Power, another smaller electric utility, UNS Electric, and a gas company. That UNS Energy is our second largest, and then Fortis BC, which is our third largest, is primarily a natural gas delivery company in British Columbia, actually the largest, energy provider in that whole province when you look at overall energy consumption in that province. So those are our 3 biggest utilities, and those were really the drivers of our capital plan and drivers of the increase. The $2.8 billion increase consists of some transmission investments at ITC, other transmission investments and distribution investments down in Arizona at UNS Energy, and then kind of a smattering of smaller investments that still add up to, when we talk about small, $100 million here, and there is kind of small in our overall scheme of things, but it's obviously big projects for our footprint and big projects for some of our smaller utilities as well.
AI data centers are a pretty hot topic on the agenda today at this conference. What is your role, Fortis's role in that ecosystem?
We serve a lot of different areas across our footprint, but I'll tell you the 2 that are most driven by the AI data center conversation are UNS Energy, particularly Tucson Electric Power, its subsidiary. There's plenty of data centers who are looking to interconnect and get served by Tucson Electric Power. We currently have a 300 megawatt agreement that we have filed with our corporation commission there to get approval to serve a large data center there. One of the best parts about being that type of utility, just as TEP or Tucson Electric Power, is a vertically integrated utility. So they can do it all. They can build a generation, transmission, whatever's needed to serve that load. We can do it all within that one single company. So we're seeing not just that first 300 megawatt agreement, but that same customer wants to add another 300 megawatts on that site, and then look at another site also in TEP's service territory to add another 500 to 700 megawatts. So there's a lot of additional investment opportunity when you think of, having to build generation and transmission to serve that 900 megawatts. The first 300 megawatts we actually have in our system with planned capacity and existing capacity where we can serve this data center pretty quickly. So we're hoping to get that ramped up in 2027. The other part of our portfolio that has a big data center story is ITC. They're only a transmission provider, but transmission has to be built to serve these data centers. And of course, the big interconnections, the big substations, et cetera, that have to be built to serve these data centers are also the thing that we do in that company. So we see a lot of additional data center activity. We've got some within our existing capital plan, but we see a lot in the rest of the footprints of the utilities we serve. So the interesting part about ITC is it's a transmission company, but it actually serves the transmission to our three largest customers happen to be other friends of ours from the New York Stock Exchange, CMS, DTE, and Alliant. Those are our three biggest transmission customers. We build the transmission to serve their growing needs. So we see growth in their area. That's good for us. That means growth in our area to be able to help them serve that.
Geographically, where do you see these data centers popping up, and what do you think makes these areas desirable?
So we kind of see them almost everywhere. I don't know if there's any common characteristics, because I think the data centers were attracted to Arizona because we had excess capacity that we could serve one quickly. Where we're seeing a big build out in ITC's footprint happens to be in Iowa. Lots of land, lots of water, easy to build infrastructure, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't have guessed that Iowa would be a hotbed for these big data centers. We have a 1,600 megawatt facility that's in our current plan at ITC, $400 million US of investment in order to build up the interconnection to serve two 800 megawatt data centers that are right there. It's called Big Cedar in Iowa. So it's I don't know if there's anything that there's a common denominator other than can we get power and infrastructure built quickly? Because that, I think, is the number one concern for data centers. They want to get up to speed and get their models running.
Can you tell us more about Fortis's dividend track record?
I would love to. So we just raised our dividend 4.1%, and that is the 52nd consecutive year of dividend increases for our company. So we're very proud of that track record. We have our shareholders who are very interested in seeing that dividend and seeing that dividend growth. And of course, it's important for us, for our shareholders, for us to continue increasing those dividends. As part of that 5-year capital plan that we just laid out, it supports, and we have pushed out our dividend guidance of 4 to 6% growth guidance every year out through 2030 now. So we, instead of having people guess as to whether or not we're going to be able to support these kind of dividend increases going forward, looking backwards is a great record at 52 years. But everybody wants to know what you're doing next. And so what are we doing next? We're planning on having that same kind of dividend increase for the next 5 years. And with that 7% rate-based growth that we see as part of that capital plan, we have the confidence that we can do that.